she was online. So
She is. All right, welcome to Geek Vice, the official podcast of. No, I didn't do any work this afternoon because the Royals game was on. Did you watch?
I didn't watch. Well, kind of watched. One of the other guys in another cube has had like the ability to stream it online, so he had it on. So I would occasionally just go sit at his desk for a little while, act like I was talking to him about something productive, and watch the Royals game.
Well, I think three-quarters of our office was crammed into a conference room watching the last two innings of that game.
Yeah, uh, I watched up to the point where we went down 6-2, and then I stopped watching, stopped following it on the GameCast, stopped watching it all together, and then I heard everybody yelling because we tied it up. So then I went over and watched when it was 7-6, and I think there was like one out left, and I saw us get the two outs with bases loaded and nobody made it home. And I'm like, all right, I'm not watching this anymore because if I sit over here, we do really crappy. So I'm not going to pay any attention to the game. And I just listen to everyone else yell whenever there was something good happen.
So we
it
can
worked.
attribute those two outs to you actually watching that inning.
Yeah, I've decided I need to stop paying attention to all my favorite sports teams because all my favorite sports teams over the weekend all lost, and I watched all the games.
Well, there you have it. So, if you have a sports team, do not let Morph watch your game. You will lose.
Oh, well, how about we start this off proper? Good evening, everybody, to Geek Vice, episode number 99. That's right, 99. This is a podcast proving that any vice with enough geek in it becomes a virtue. I kind of like that we can thank Bill from Prolific Games for writing that one for us. I liked it.
Yeah, it's short enough that we can actually say it without screwing it up too much.
Yeah, and I didn't even write it down this time. I just did that one off the top of my head because that's
See,
how.
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
it worked perfect for me. I'm liking that one. We're gonna you'll still hear the other intro. We'll just go back and forth with it because we're in charge and we can do whatever the hell we want.
That's right. We control the buttons.
Yes. So how are you doing this evening, Kip?
I'm doing pretty well. Like I said, I had a pretty exciting afternoon watching the Royals' big comeback,
Yeah.
and then just basically was catching up on TV shows, which I am wont to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Trying to get actually just before we started this episode, I decided I was going to go and download uh, something from our main topic. So I will wait and to talk about that when we get there.
Excellent.
But yeah, I'm trying to get caught up on comic books. So I read a lot of comic books over the weekend. Almost got caught up. Actually, I think other than the fact that I'm still 4 months behind, I'm at least caught up to 4 months behind on a couple of the titles I read. One of them being the Inhumans. Really enjoying those stories and the way they're telling those, and I think maybe the reason I'm liking it is because these are characters very similar to the X-Men, except they are you don't know them. A lot of there's very few Inhumans left, and uh, if it's following very similar to the Agents of Shield TV series where the Terrigen Mist has been released into the atmosphere or population, and now people are turning into Inhumans, and so you get to deal with people finding their powers for the first time and deciding whether they're going to be good or evil. And I kind of like that.
Excellente.
So what TV shows are you getting? Are you watching?
Oh man, Well, tonight we watched a couple episodes of Bar Rescue. For some reason, I'm strangely addicted to that show. I can't help it.
I can understand that.
No, man, our DVR is just completely full. Well, not completely full because we have Google Fiber, but it's like 10 or 12 shows on there.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell we're going to get them all watched, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I think some of them we're just going to let them record all the way through the season and then binge watch it when it's snowy or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you watch any of the CW stuff from last week? Flash, Arrow.
We did. We watched both of those, and they were awesome, of course. I was hoping that Atom Smasher was going to be more than a one-episode dude.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert if you haven't watched them.
I have not. I haven't watched either of them.
Sorry.
I've downloaded. Oh, you're fine. Much like you, I have a ton of stuff to watch, including I've been watching the first season of The Blacklist, and I'm. What is that? That's like 20 some episodes, I believe.
Yeah. 22 or 23.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. And man, it's really freaking good. I am really liking that. I'm only about 5 or 6 episodes into the first season, and I'm like, man, I know why I didn't watch it, because I was trying to watch everything and record everything on TV, and so it comes on at like the same time as a couple other shows that I really like, so I wasn't able to record it. Well, now that I've just gone and downloaded all the past seasons, I really like that one.
Yeah, we were watching. We're caught up on Blacklist, and then once we watched that episode, we watched the next episode of Blind Spot.
Yeah.
And my wife said something pretty fascinating, and that was she likes Blind Spot, but Blacklist is better because of James Spader. So, and I think she's right. I think James Spader is just so awesome as Red Reddington that just makes that show more compelling.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because watching The Blacklist, I see a lot of other shows. Like, it's not new in its concept. There's always that show where there's a bad guy trying to help out the good guys type thing for his own personal reasons. He's always one step ahead of everybody because he's smarter than everybody. Or even if it's another good guy helping the good guys that's just smarter than everybody. There's that kind of storytelling is not new for The Blacklist, but I would have to agree that James Spader in it just does such an amazing job with it. And even the chick who that he's working with, like, even her, like, even the way she portrays herself, especially in this first season where she's kind of awkward. She's kind of, you can tell she's really smart and there's something special about her, but she still plays, even if, you could tell she's a newer actress because, she doesn't quite have the camera presence. And when James Spader's on the screen, he takes over. And
yeah.
But it's kind of supposed to be that way. And so whether she's doing that on purpose or whether he's just, that good, it works either way. I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. The first season is pretty good. The second season, I don't think is as good as the first, but it is really good. And the third season has been fantastic so far.
Yeah.
So loving it. But you know what? That's not what we're supposed to be talking about tonight, is it?
That is not. That is not. But it's what we do.
That's right.
So tonight we're talking about comic books and audiobooks and all kinds of books and more books stuff. So, what do you got for us this week?
Well, I finally put a new car stereo in my car so I can actually listen to CDs again. And I thought this is a great opportunity to start getting back into audiobooks. So I went to my library website and I just randomly selected some sci-fi audiobooks. And the one I'm listening to now is called War Dogs by Greg Bear. And it's a great book to listen to. It's basically, I want to say American soldiers, but they're Earth soldiers, and there's a war going on Mars. They get dropped onto Mars, and everything goes wrong from the beginning. And it's basically about these guys trying to figure out what the hell's going on, trying to survive. The cool part about it is Greg Bear takes some people from what's going on right now and makes them main characters, I guess you could say. Like, you know who Elon Musk is?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So in this book, he basically funds all these people to go and live on Mars. And they end up staying, and they're now called Muskies for Elon Musk, and they've gone all kind of native. So those people are on there interacting with the soldiers that are in the shit and all this other stuff. And I'm not done with it yet, but it's one of those books. I just listen to it back and forth from work and when I'm out on the road. And it's one of those when you get to the office, you're like, man, I don't really want to turn this off, but I got to. So I was enjoying it so much that I decided to look at Greg Bear's website and see what else he has to offer. That man has written a lot of books. And the cool thing is some of them are Halo.
Yeah.
He even had one Star Wars book to his credit.
Cool.
So I'm just going to have to see how many of his I can find on CD and listen to them on my way to work. Because so far I'm liking what he does.
Very cool. Yeah, the audio stuff intrigues me, especially since I sit at a desk all day and, it can't hurt. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of other stuff, but, sometimes you listen to them long enough and you're like, all right, I need something new. I need to hear somebody else's voice for a while. And, so yeah, I might have to check some of these audiobooks out.
Yeah, I definitely recommend finding anything by Greg Bear. Bear is in like grizzly.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, if you like anything like Halo or Star Wars or futuristic warfare,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I highly recommend this author. His writing style is easy for me to digest, but also deep enough to keep my interest. So he's got that going on.
Very, very cool. Well, since we're on the audiobook topic, something I wanted to mention, and I put this under the main topics because it is free right now, a free audio drama. I just got everyone's attention. They perked up when they heard free. Now it's a limited time offer, so you need to make sure you get in this month. I believe I want to say it's November 5th or something is the last day you can get this, but it is Lock and Key, which is a comic book by Joe Hill, written by Joe Hill and illustrated by Gabriel Rodriguez. And it is a 37 issue story. It's printed by IDW Publishing, and it is really good. I have read all the books when they came out in their individual issues, and I absolutely love this story. It is really good. Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King, so it is your horror type thriller book, very similar to something Stephen King would write. So if you like Stephen King stuff, you would like this. And to top it all off, Audible.com, it has given this the full audio drama treatment. So it's got background music. It's got around 50 actors taking various roles. So it's not just one person reading this book. It is people like Haley Joel Osment is one of the characters in this book. So
nice.
And to top it all off, it's free, and it's 13 hours worth of story. So it's not something that you're going to finish in an afternoon.
Well, unless it's one hell of a lazy afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, because I've read some Lock and Key, and those are some really good comics. So I'm going to download this for sure and take a good listen to it.
Yeah, I have just downloaded it tonight, and it comes something that's kind of nice about Audible. Well, one, it's owned by Amazon, so if you have an Amazon account, you have an Audible account, and you don't need a membership with Audible. Audible is kind of a subscription service. Can be. You can actually pay, I believe it's a monthly thing, and you can get a whole bunch of stuff for discounted prices, or you can just buy them as you go type thing. But to download this, you don't need a membership. You don't need to sign up for anything. If you've already got an Amazon account, you log in and it'll give this right to you. All you got to do is say you want it. And
so did it go straight to your Kindle, or did it just give you a link?
You can do it either way. That's the other nice thing. You can actually use Audible.com to sync with their apps on the Kindle, Apple, or Android. They also have one for a Windows phone, or you can listen to it streaming through just the Audible website, or you can even download this in an MP3 format so that you can take it with you. So, yeah, that's the part that I like the best, because some of these things, Amazon's not going to go away anytime soon. So I'm less worried about it in this sense. But some of these things where I've, obviously I got this for free, so it doesn't really fit in that category. But those things that you pay for that you don't actually get, you're just renting them. That bugs me a little bit. Like, I want to be able to have something that I can store on my computer or in my cloud, so that if for some reason that company were to go out of business or decide they don't want to support this stuff anymore, I still have the stuff that I paid for. Different from the Netflix model. The Netflix, I understand. I'm just paying a subscription to be able to watch whatever I want whenever I want to watch it. If that goes away, I don't expect to own any of that stuff. But if I'm specifically paying for one particular thing, I want to be able to download it and keep it on my computer. So Audible allows you to do that.
Nice. Well, I'm not going to do it now while we're podcasting, because it'll probably kill my bandwidth, but yeah. I will definitely download that and probably put that so I can listen to it in the car as well. So awesome.
Yeah. There you go. So now I gotta flip to the other page because I kind of got rid of that. So let's see. The next thing on here we got is there has been some rumblings. Black Panther is a character in the Marvel universe that is trying to make his debut in the cinematic universe in Captain America: Civil War, coming out next year. And he's a member of the Avengers who's been around for quite a while. He has tried to carry books of his own, and some have worked, some have not. None of them have really stood the test of time and been able to stick around forever. And so Marvel kind of did something I think's kind of neat. There's been a lot of buzz around the comic book world that they need more minority characters, they need more minority writers. They've tried this with some of the different titles, Spider-Man being one of them. Ultimate Spider-Man was a character named Miles Morales, and he is a black/Hispanic character, and he takes on the mantle of Spider-Man. So, and he's actually now, which is overly complicated, but we'll just the short part of it is he's now part of the main Marvel universe in the comic book world, the 616 universe. So they've done this with some other characters as well. But Black Panther has, I think they've gone even a step further by hiring Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I had to do some looking up on who this guy is, but he writes a lot of, he's known for his African American writing. He's trying to look up, I didn't write down the book. He's a writer that kind of is known for writing African American characters, and he's a black guy, so that's kind of good too. I'm trying to do this all without coming off as sounding like a moron, but I really am. And you guys all know this. But that's kind of the interesting thing, that this guy is not a comic book writer. He has written a whole bunch of other novels, prose novels, and so it's kind of interesting that that Marvel has kind of gone outside of their normal pool of writers to go bring this guy in, because he is known for writing about black people. And so I think it's great that they're hiring this guy to write an African American character, which is Black Panther. I'm excited to see what this comes out with. I'm excited to see what they do with it. It is expected to, I want to say that the book is supposed to come out later in 2015. I want to say it's towards the end of the year, so in the next couple months. So it'll be, I don't know, be interesting to see what comes out of this.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I see that, with the Civil War and all that storyline in the movies, that they're dropping him in there. And I don't know. I think that's a pretty cool deal. And the fact that they are making the effort to be more diverse only helps everybody, I think. Gets everybody engaged.
Yeah, and it's the storyline. They've kind of released a little bit of information on the storyline that he's going to write. It's called A Nation Under Our Feet, but it's going to be basically T'Challa, which is Black Panther's actual name. His nation of Wakanda is threatened by a superhuman terrorist group called the People. So I'm curious to see how this goes and how the reaction is amongst not just your typical comic book fans, but the reaction that comes from the people outside of your normal comic book world. Uh, Companies have made a big splash. Marvel made a big splash back when in the, I want to say it was early 2000s when they killed Captain America. Um, that kind of made a big splash. I believe the issue, even the cover of the issue was actually shown on, in a USA Today article. So Marvel's not they've done this before where they've kind of created enough buzz that they get the people outside of the comic book world interested. And I'm curious to see what this does, being with people knowing that Black Panther is going to be a Marvel cinematic character. He's going to be in Captain America, and he already has a movie scheduled to come out that he's the headline for, that he's the title character for. So I'm curious to see if maybe this is Marvel's way of drumming up some buzz to try to get people to buy the comic books for him, for this character, before the movie even comes out in a couple of years.
Well, I'm sure that's the case. Why pass up an opportunity to make a buck or two?
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll have to see what happens. Oh, there's the title of the book that I was looking for. Coates has written Between the World and Me, and it's been nominated for a National Book Awards nonfiction prize. So he's a very, very good writer outside of the comic world. So we'll see what he can do inside the comic world.
You said it's Between the World and Me?
Yes.
I will check that out.
There you go.
Which is funny because, I talk about how I don't have time to read a lot of books. I'm thinking about going comic book route, and then I've already told everybody that I'm going to be reading more books. So there you go. I'm a man of my word.
Well, you could be like me, and you'll just have this really long list of all the things you want to get to, and then you just never get to them.
Yeah. I'm going to have to retire early so I can actually read all this stuff.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you feel? How do you feel about Batman and Bruce Wayne?
Which incantation?
Whichever one you want. Are they this? Could you have a Batman without having a Bruce Wayne?
That's a darn good question. I suppose you could if you've got another billionaire with a god complex. I guess you could probably do that.
Or how about Jim Gordon becoming Batman?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, right now, all my vision of Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon is clouded by watching Gotham.
Yeah.
But
well, in the Batman comic book right now, and again, I'm way far behind, so I just saw this because this news just kind of came out over the weekend from New York Comic Con, where DC held a Batman panel, separate from the Dark Knight 3 panel, that was basically the different creative teams from several of the currently running Bat books. And Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder, the artist and writer for the Batman proper title, basically confirmed that Bruce Wayne will not be coming Batman again. And of course, in parentheses, for now. Bruce Wayne has basically, right now in the comic books, Bruce Wayne has been, for all intents, he's killed, but not dead, and basically just realized he can't be Batman anymore. He's too beat up, too close to death. And so this has happened before in the comic books, and somebody like Dick Grayson was stepped in and took over that role. Dick Grayson being Robin from back in the day.
Right.
Um, but this time they've got Jim Gordon has put on the mantle of Batman. And I'm going to guess, I'm, again, really far behind in my comic books, but reading this today really made me want to go and get caught up on those books because I want to see what the heck's actually going on here and why this is happening and how Jim Gordon is fitting into the role of Batman. Part of it makes me wonder if they're doing this to create synergy with the Gotham TV series.
Well, as soon as you start talking about it, that's where my mind went, because the Gotham TV series seems to be wanting to take what you know about that series and turn it on its ear.
Yeah.
Are you caught up?
I am not caught up completely. I watched the first episode. I watched the pilot, or not the pilot. I guess the premiere this season. Where's that at? Yeah, that's the only one that I've watched. And what are they? I think they're on episode 3 now.
Yes, and I don't think this spoils anything, but after watching the first 3 episodes, I am more and more convinced that they're making Barbara Gordon become Harley Quinn.
Yeah, you know what? After the first episode, I kind of thought that that's what they were going to do.
And it just keeps building on that, especially the 3rd episode. And I really think that's where they're going with that character.
Which I get. I mean, okay.
So watch the next 2 in your queue, and then we can talk about how you.
Well, and here's, you know what, and here, kind of with that kind of brings up the point that the problem that I had with that TV series from the beginning was I felt like they were trying to make Jim Gordon Batman. And I'm wondering if the popularity of that TV series has now rubbed off on DC and their comic books, and they're now, saying, well, let's make Jim Gordon Batman, and then our comic books and this TV series that seems to be doing so well can match up. And then maybe they can put that in the TV series where Jim Gordon does become, a sort of, it kind of makes more sense because I don't know. I don't know. I don't mind it. I don't mind it in the comic books. I don't, I'm curious to see what it is. I want to see if this does, if reading all these books and getting caught up on it does make me feel like, yeah, this was coming from the beginning, or if this is really hey, we need to make a quick, abrupt change. There are so many other Bat characters, Dick Grayson being one of them, that could take over the mantle of Batman other than Jim Gordon. But I also see that, some of the storytelling and some of the writing for this could be really interesting on how they, how they actually play in with a Batman who actually is a detective rather than is supposedly the world's greatest detective. Somebody who actually has some procedural,
training. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it though, because if you look at the way the show is going, Bruce Wayne is way too young, and the criminals that we all know are much older than him. By the time he gets old enough to become Batman, a lot of these guys will be too old to be the supervillain.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening, especially since Jim Gordon from first episode was like the only guy trying to make a difference in the police force.
Yeah.
And, as people die off, come into the picture and all this other stuff, I could actually see him perhaps maybe getting fired or whatever, and loving the city as he does and wanted to save it, I could actually see him becoming a vigilante hero, if you will, and that morphing into Batman. Because that's kind of what, like you said, that seems to be what they're leaning on or leaning towards.
Yeah, I'm so I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, some of the other news that came out of here for this was that um, uh, they're really wanting Dick Grayson to be more of. They're hoping for him to become a more popular character. Right now, Grayson is not in any Bat persona. He's just he's almost like a Black Ops type super spy and trying to infiltrate an organization in the DC universe. So, I mean, there is that. He's kind of taken over his own little. Just use the stuff that he's learned as being Robin and being Batman and being Nightwing. Some of the stuff that he's picked up from Batman and putting that to actual use. I've heard the book's pretty good. Tim Seeley is the writer for it, and I know he's really good. So,
it'll be interesting how it starts to parallel the TV show.
Yeah, and that's what I really wonder. Like that is probably the biggest thing that I'm looking at is what is in the you expect to have this synergy, but for the longest time DC just kind of they let their TV shows do what they wanted to do. There would maybe be a few crossovers here and there with the comic book, but for the most part the TV series went one way and the comic books went another way, and they didn't really care if they ever made sense together.
Right.
Now it seems like they're trying really hard to merge the two of them together. They've done it with Arrow, and now I feel like they're doing it with Gotham and Batman. And I'm curious to see how this works. It's one thing to do it with characters like Marvel is with the Inhumans. The Inhumans haven't been around for that long, and they haven't been very popular for really ever. So it's one thing to do this experiment with them. It's another thing to do it with a character called Batman, who has.
I could see them taking this as this doesn't replace Batman's story. This begins it. Because everybody's older than Bruce Wayne by at least 10 years.
Sure.
So if Jim Gordon is, say, Batman for 15, 20 years, and then he becomes too old to be Batman and hands over the mantle to Bruce Wayne, you haven't destroyed Batman.
That's true. But I mean, what do you do with those characters? I mean, you like you said, all those characters are 10 years older, so you're going to have a Riddler who's in his 60s going up against a Batman in his 20s?
Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, they do crazy things. I can't say anything because you need to see the third episode. But, there are things that they do that makes you think they've got the villain thing handled.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to catch up.
Well, I might have to go watch that and then see. So that's going to be my goal, is to get caught up on the Batman comic book and the Gotham TV series.
You have your homework.
Cool. Very cool. I am looking forward to that. That was interesting news that I thought of, when I was reading about the news from New York Comic-Con.
I like it.
Me too. So what else you got for us tonight there, Kip? You got anything else for us?
No, but I know somebody was introduced to Empire Strikes Back over the weekend.
Yeah, yeah. It's not comic book related. It's not book related at all. But I realized last week, actually talking um, with some of the neighbors, and that my son hasn't seen any of the Star Wars movies. I don't actually own any of the Star Wars movies. I know, blasphemy, right?
That's just not even right. We're
I
going to pretend you didn't say that.
I've seen them all, but I've usually watched them because somebody else gave me the disc for them, and I watched them. But I actually don't own any of them, so I uh, went and acquired the original Batman, or the original Batman. Jesus, I got Batman on the brain. The original Star Wars movies. The original ones: 77, 1980, 1983. And I tried to get him to start with the first one, and he didn't really want to do that. And some of the neighbor kids were going to come over and watch it with them, and the neighbor kids have all seen them, so they made the comment, hey, you should watch Empire Strikes Back because that's the best one. Reese was like, okay, let's watch that one. So over the weekend, between Saturday night and Sunday morning, they watched uh, Empire Strikes Back, and he really liked it, which was good. I was a little worried. I was worried that this was high def. This was the digitally remastered one, so I mean it's good quality. It's not going to look as cheesy and as bad as the other ones, as the original publications. But he really liked it. He had a lot of questions. He didn't quite understand everything that was going on. He really didn't understand what who all the characters were, mainly because the stuff he's been introduced to beforehand was all the cartoons, which happen in between the trilogies of movies, I guess. A lot of those take place where there is a Darth Vader, but Luke Skywalker hasn't really, become a Jedi yet. That kind of stuff. So he didn't have any idea who Luke Skywalker was. He has only known Anakin Skywalker from the Clone Wars saga on Cartoon Network, which happens before Anakin becomes Darth Vader. So explaining that one to him was a little difficult. But overall, he really liked it, and I think this weekend we might try to watch Return of the Jedi, so he can see the Ewoks, because that's mine and my wife's favorite episode, or favorite. So,
let's just all forget all about the first one,
Yeah, and maybe we'll go back and watch all of them. I don't actually own any of the other three as well, so I might just have to get all six of them, and maybe we try to watch all six of them, because I have only seen episode 1. I never saw episode 2 or 3.
And you really don't need to.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figure. But I have also acquired. I also got all of the first season of Star Wars Rebels as well, and I've heard really good things about that cartoon. And so, I plan on trying to get him to sit down and watch that with him too. So that'll be fun. We're introducing him to Star Wars, so we'll see if that takes.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll have to look for another co-host. It's just.
Well, the funniest part about this whole thing, and the reason this all got stemmed, was Friday night we were over at a friend of ours, who Reese has the friend's house that we were at. Their kid is in Reese's class, so they're both in first grade together. Reese's friend has seen all of the Star Wars movies, is already, super geeked out on them, loves Star Wars. And so when the two of them were together, they were trying to basically play Star Wars, and Reese wanted to be Anakin, and Hudson wanted to be Luke Skywalker. And Reese and him got into the biggest argument over Luke Skywalker and what part he actually plays in the whole thing. And so I tried to explain this to Reese without him ever seeing the movies, and realized I've just really got to get him to see these movies before he can even understand any of this. So that's where this all stemmed from. So he's already kind of doomed. He was trying to make the argument that Luke Skywalker isn't a real person because he wasn't in any of the cartoons.
Well, it's kind of neat to know that there are still some people who don't know anything about Star Wars, and they're getting introduced.
Yeah.
So when all the revelations come out, there actually will be somebody surprised.
Well, and I think it is also good. I mean, it's kind of feeds to the fact of what they're trying to do with putting out this next movie. This movie that comes out the end of this year. And I think it's kind of a good thing, because there is a younger generation that, if their parents or any big Star Wars fans, they haven't seen a movie that's worthwhile in a long time, and they've shown them the original ones, and refused to show them the episodes 1, 2, and 3, and so I think this is perfect. I think this is I'm introducing Reese at just the right time, and I think he's going to, if we get all of these watched and get him caught up to speed, I think he's going to be super stoked to go see the new Star Wars movie when it comes out, and I think I might just have to take him.
There you go. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So there you go. That's all we got for this week, unless you got something else you want to throw in there.
I do not. I am just a blank mind.
Yeah, it's been one of those weeks already, and it's only Monday. So
that's right.
And of course, if you're listening to this after we've recorded, it's Wednesday.
And we're even more tired.
Yeah. So the big thing that I want to throw out there is next week is episode 100.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe we've done this for 100 episodes already. It feels like we just started a couple weeks ago.
I'm sure to our listeners, it probably feels like we're still new at this.
So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look back at the last 100 episodes of Geek Vice. Some of our favorite moments, some of the things we actually think turned out really well, and some of the things that have kind of spawned stuff for the future. And if you guys have any favorite episodes or favorite topics or something that just sticks out in your mind where you're like, oh, that was great when you did this, send us an email at geekvice@gmail.com or hit us up. You can post a comment to this on YouTube or on Facebook, or just tag me in something on Twitters. On the Twitter's verse. Let us know what you think, and we will include your comments and your recommendations in next week's 100th episode.
Outstanding. I can't believe it's going to be 100.
I know, it's still nuts. But you guys can go follow us on our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can search for Geek Vice on Google Plus and Facebook. You can follow Kip on Twitter at Kip Killigan. You can follow me on Twitter at GeekVice. And again, email us at geekvice@gmail.com, and we will see you next week.
Out of here.
See ya.